Hello, everybody, and welcome to Step Back Tonight. And I'm going to push the transition button, and a whole lot of weird stuff is going to... We'll see if it works. And it doesn't. This is wonderful. Hello, everybody. I am Tristan. This is Step Back Tonight, the weekly live stream, so you don't have to, whatever the hell that means. So, I'm in a sea of black right now, which I'm going to try and get to the bottom of. But while I'm doing that, I will give you a little rundown as to what's up. So tonight, I'm going to be doing... Oh, is that the problem? Alright, we can do this. We can do this. Okay. Well, anyways, we're going to do a wonderful thing. I'll just switch to this. I'll switch to this a little bit better for the moment. Can you? Okay. Apparently, it's just a still image of me now. Hello, everybody. I'm just gonna turn off all the things for this. I do love how all of this just works. Alright, let's try doing this again. Alright. That is much better. Hello! Yeah, so I'm working on trying to get a thing where I would be able to open a browser. You can see there's Phoebe there in the back. Where I can get a browser open and we can do the political test together. That's the plan. I'm going to be... the idea behind what I'm going to be doing tonight is we're going to do a number of political compass tests, and I'm going to turn off my the notifications on my phone because, you know, I planned ahead. I'm going to do a number of political compass tests, and we're going to go through the questions, and we're going to laugh at how bad some of them can be, and also just kind of goof off. So if you know of a political compass test, I've got 3 of them, and I know there's more, so if you could send them to me on Twitter, the URL, and we'll do a whole bunch, and we'll see how it goes. As soon as I figure out how to... get the browser open in, or get a picture of my browser working in the whole situation. Okay. For some reason, it doesn't show Chrome. That's nice. That is a good sign. Let's try just browser. Okay. Okay. If anybody knows how to actually interact with a web page with the I need an OBS expert, I think. Anyways, browser, OBS. So, how do I record Google Chrome with OBS? That's a good question. Okay, can be found. Go to the advanced settings. Live from Ontario, it's Step Back Tonight. Okay, I have some settings I have to mess around with in Chrome, so be patient with me. I will get to I will get this running, and then I will have an opening discussion with people, and I'll take some questions, and then once we get everything running, then we'll be great. I really appreciate you guys hanging in there. Use hardware acceleration when available. Well, I thought that it's already on, so that's not the problem. Should have done this setup earlier. Yes, I should have. I actually was working on my next my video for Thursday, and then I realized right as I was about to finish that I had about 10 minutes before I had to get up, or before I had to get onto this thing. So, I'm just working out. So so that's like the kind of thing that I'm working on. Yeah. This is very good entertainment, friends. Screen go black when trying to record and just okay. And okay. Usually stuff is better used with a browser source if possible. Have you tried full screening the browser? OBS does stream full screen applications. Alright, I think I'm just going to work this one out a little bit later. Do we just ask things? For the moment, yes. Alright, so I think what we'll do is we will go on an audio journey, and then I will find a way to make everything work. Hello, Logan. And there's so many good political compass tests to start with. But we're going to do the classic. And we'll talk through the questions and things like that. Because, for some reason, this is a thing that is difficult. Or wait, I wonder if I just displayed. Ooh, oh, I think I might have a solution. Friends, I'm working on something amazing. So, video capture. Okay. And then I will get a nice picture. Don't worry, guys. I think I have a solution that I'm working on, and I appreciate everybody being so patient with me while I get everything running. Should do the French political test. Okay. All right, graphics. Good stuff. Okay. I'm sorry. As you guys know, this is the second stream in this series, so it's only just getting started. It's still early days. So, be patient. I am a newbie. I am a dumb child. Okay. Let's just get rid of that then. And we will add a different image. Much better. Oh, it's gorgeous. Okay. Hilariously bad. Okay, here we go. Hey! Look! We got the things to go. Lovely. And all you have to deal with is seeing some of the bottom of my bar. So there you go. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the stream. Okay, so did I miss any good questions now that I can actually have a chat with y'all? So hello. Welcome to the Step Back stream. I'm going to be doing, for those who stick around, this is going to be the political compass test. I think we're going to do a whole bunch of them. It's going to be fun. And like I said, if you've got any fun ones to send, just give me a link either in my Discord or on Twitter, and we'll take a few of them and we'll talk through some stuff, and I will ask you guys some questions, and I'll take some questions, and we'll all have a very good time. So, where should we get started? Do you guys have anything you really want me to talk about? I'm going to put the 8 values on here too. 8 values. There you go. So, if there is there anything that you want me to talk about before I get started? No? Yes? Maybe? There's a bit of a delay, isn't there? Also, if you are preferring to watch your streams on Twitch, I do have a Twitch stream that would be a good one. Okay, alright, the questions are already rolling in. Okay. Alright, so Mythology Guy, how are you doing? That's your question. I'm doing alright. Today was... I get one of these days a week where the Step Back video is recorded and done, and then I go and animate stuff, and I move the pictures around and all that kind of stuff and get to the video file. And I was doing that all day today. Well, all afternoon. All morning I was working on a report for work. So today I'm feeling very good because I haven't talked to anybody, so I'm really happy to talk to you guys here, and I'm excited to do this. I think this political compasses have like we have a whole thing that we can talk about. It's got a lot of interesting things and limitations and stuff that we can talk about. 255 AD. Suppose for some reason humanity, wasn't able to get any nukes to work after the end of World War II. Do you think we would have had more world wars by now if MAD was not a thing? Yes. I do think that, wasn't it Operation Unthinkable or whatever? Like, I do think that there was a lot of plans to invade the Soviet Union, even with mutually assured destruction. So I do think that the Cold War would have definitely spilled over into a hot war if it wasn't for the fact that you're gambling with the apocalypse. Let's do that quick. There we go. So, like, that's, please do another 20-minute rant, please. Oh, Argos. We'll see. No promises yet. Big Seltzer, did you see Alex Jones's interview where he kept saying he was ready to die and he's getting closer to God every second? Dude, yeah, Alex Jones hasn't had a very good couple, like, Alex Jones I feel like somebody could write like a Greek tragedy now about Alex Jones. So, like, Alex Jones, for those who don't know, he's been around for a long time. Like, he comes from like AM radio days. He's an old conspiracy radio celebrity. There was sort of this indie film called Waking Life that came out in like 2002, and it was a whole video. It was a whole like movie about existential philosophy, and it had all sorts of famous celebrities and artists and existential philosophers, and it had a random Alex Jones in it, and I thought that was always so amusing. But on top of that, he just was always like in this sort of situation where he didn't understand, or he like was always in like conspiracy freak land. But he was like the king of conspiracy weirdo land. So he had a huge following of like conspiracy people. But then he decided to latch on to the like radical right, and like, you know, I mean, he was always very right wing because, you know, he believes in like demons and aliens and extra dimensional monsters and stuff like that. But he decided to get involved with like the alt-right and all that kind of stuff. I'm just gonna turn my fan on real quick. Hope it doesn't bother you too much. And so he was doing his thing, and eventually at some point, I guess I could take these off. I don't actually need them. So at some point, Alex Jones, yeah, he gets wrapped up. He really likes Donald Trump. And, you have the triumph of the alt-right, where a radical right-wing person becomes president. And this is somebody who was a big fan of Alex Jones. Alex Jones becomes really famous, and all of a sudden he's on the news all over the place. And then just like almost out of a perfect Greek tragedy, things start to fall apart. The first step was everybody started getting on top of the fake news. I mean, he was already getting a lot of hate because of the whole thing he did in 2012 with the claiming that all of the people who died at Sandy Hook were like crisis actors, and that people already didn't like him for that. But then, as he got more popular, people started digging into that and started getting more mad about that. And then his wife divorces him. And in the divorce, the wife, Alex Jones's wife, decides that she's going to try to take away Alex's custody of his kids. Because I'm sure this doesn't surprise you if you've seen anything that Alex Jones does. He might have rage problems and anger management issues. And so there's like accusations of abuse, physical abuse, and just horrible things. And part of the effort to take away his rights to his kids, he says during the trial that he's not an actual conspiracy theorist and that it's like performance art, which I think was just something his lawyer thought up, but it doesn't actually work. And he lost his wife, and he lost custody of his kids. So that's strike one. And then everybody starts realizing, like, Alex Jones is, like, not somebody that we should take seriously. He stops getting invited to things, so he starts just showing up at places and getting kicked out. And then social media companies start realizing that they have to just take even the slightest bit of responsibility for their platform. And so he just doesn't get it. And he's just like, he doesn't get it. And so he's just doing this thing and getting so angry about his situation that he starts like making these strange like calls for like violent revolution and stuff like that. And yeah, it leads to him losing his platform. His as you probably noticed in the last few weeks, that YouTube and Twitter, and eventually Twitter, Jack held out because I don't know. YouTube and Twitter and like all of the podcast platforms he was on, like everything that was keeping him hosted started taking down his platform. And it was told, at least as far as I can tell, that after, because like one of the things is that deplatforming horrible people has like legitimate effects. And now he's lost PayPal, so he can't like get his money from like donations or from selling his like scam pills. And on top of that, he's lost, like, every social media platform will not host his content anymore. And reports say that he's lost half of all of his traffic, even to his like main website, Infowars.com, to the nutraceutical site that he was basically making his money off of. And since deplatforming works, Infowars is losing its money. And now he's expressing like legitimate signs that he is depressed and that he might take his own life, which is, I mean, I don't wish that on anybody. And it just feels like at this point he's done, and now he's like living in the ruins of his own life. I just can't help but feel like after after losing his platform and losing all of his like his base, like he's got like Paul Joseph Watson, who's probably gonna break off and start his own thing because he's already pretty popular in his own right. Like he's going to, yeah, Phoebes is back. Hey, Phoebes. So he's like living in the ashes of his life. He's lost his family, he's lost his business, he's lost his credibility, he's lost his platform. He has nothing. And yeah, I can imagine that he feels like the walls coming down. And I just think of like that moment in like what's it called? What's that Greek tragedy? In Oedipus. The moment in Oedipus where he realizes that the prophecy about him killing his father and marrying his mother are true, and everything comes crashing down. He realizes that his wife is his own mother and that he murdered his father, and like it just like destroys him. And I can imagine that that there's an Oedipus moment now happening with Alex Jones. So, and like it's good because like the whole before everyone started taking him seriously, everyone thought he was a joke. He was a goofball. He got mad and everyone would laugh about how they put things in the water that turned the frogs gay and all that kind of stuff. But we started to collectively realize that his positions and the things he says have consequences. I'm just gonna check to see if there's any new political compasses on Twitter. Not yet. So yeah, actions have consequences, and now I can imagine, yeah, like he must feel awful, and who knows where he picks up from here. I have no idea. I don't know what next stage is. It's like I don't have any sympathy for these people. I mean, I have no sympathy for these people at the moment, and but I am just curious about like if you're like Anthony Weiner or Harvey Weinstein or Alex Jones or Kevin Spacey, like people who in like the last couple years who have had basically their entire career destroyed, and no chance of ever really coming back in any meaningful way. Like, what do you do? What like Kevin Spacey, what does he do these days? When he wakes up in the morning, what is he like? What is his next thing? I imagine he's lost like almost all of his friends. He's probably lost, if he had a romantic partner, he's probably lost that. But like, let's keep the Alex Jones. Like, what does Alex Jones do now? I think you would probably write a book, but I don't think Amazon would put his book on their site. So like, Alex Jones had everything and then lost it all very quickly. And so yeah, he is the epitome of like a Greek tragedy. Maybe that's a story. Maybe that's a story I should write about like an Alex Jones type figure and like the collapse of his life. Except then I would have to make him sympathetic, and I don't want to do that. Jack Reed, thoughts on Allende's CyberSyn? It was kind of a cute idea. I don't think it would have been very effective in the long term, but it was a cool idea. It was, for those who are out there, CyberSyn was this concept in Allende's socialist government in Chile that was going to basically computerize the entire and coordinate the entire economy. So like with a socialist economy, making sure that everything was getting to and from where it was needed without through like a highly organized computer system. So like they would know where all of the commodities were and what was available where. And it was in the 1970s, and I really highly doubt they would have had the technological ability to actually manage this. Like having like this economic control center where the planned economy can be run like moment to moment. But it's a cool idea. I just don't think that a top-down approach like that, especially with the primitive computer technology that would be available to them, would actually work. Do you believe Bernie Sanders should run for president in 2020? And if so, do you think the left will be able to crush the alt-right after everything that has happened in the White House? I mean, like... No? Okay, no. Bernie Sanders should run for president. Bernie Sanders should win, but he probably won't. He does have the most name recognition, I think, of anybody who is running for president. He's going to go up against, like, Cory Booker and, like, Kamala Harris. So, like, with them on the like, Democratic ballot, like, he should definitely run for president because those are both terrible candidates. And no one really, like, seriously progressive has, like, stepped forward as someone who's going to run for president. So, like, Bernie Sanders should run. And he might win. The recent change to the system of superdelegates is actually a pretty good sign that he could win. With the name recognition, with the shift in American politics that have happened since 2016, he stands a pretty good shot. If he does, he would absolutely destroy Trump for president. And yeah, so Mythology Guy's pointing out, like, what about, like, how old he is? Bernie Sanders is, like, you know, he's in his 80s. And it's like, well, honestly, like, okay, this is something that I don't understand. Bernie Sanders is old, yes. But, like, it's his vice, like, if he has a good vice president, like, if he has a good vice president who has also got solid, like, you know, progressive credentials, what's wrong with having an old president? Like, if he's still, like, you know, if his mind is still in shape and his body is still okay, like, even if he does have a, like, higher chance than normal of dying while president, if there's a good vice president, who cares? I'm sure if his health started to take, like, a steep decline and he, like, knew that he was dying, like, of old age or something, then yeah, he'd probably resign. Or if he, like, found out that he had, like, a virulent form of cancer that he wasn't going to survive and he didn't have very long, he'd probably resign and he'd be able to go through the process of doing it. But if he's in his 80s and he's president and he has a vice president who is, like, solid and he, like, works well with, then, like if he dies, that vice president will be able to pick up where he left off. Like, I don't see the problem. I don't see any problem with Sanders being president. I don't know who Sanders' vice president would be. I imagine that even Sanders doesn't know who his vice president would be. But I would hope that his vice president is somebody who is progressive but is still a good party insider and someone who is able to work Congress and able to work, like, international things. Like, Sanders' weak spots as a politician are that he's independent, and so that means, like, you know, he doesn't get to go to all of the Democratic meetings, so he doesn't know the Democratic Party, and all of a sudden he would find himself being the leader of the Democratic Party. So having a running mate who knows the mechanisms of the Democratic Party and knows how to play their game would be pretty good. Unfortunately, having being both progressive and progressive and somebody who knows the Democratic Party are kind of at odds with each other, but I'm sure you could find a pretty good candidate. Tulsi Gabbard, for example, would be a really good example of a good vice presidential candidate. Somebody who can talk Democrat and somebody who can deal with the foreign policy stuff. Now, Tulsi Gabbard's a bit of a war hawk, and she will have to definitely rein that in. But Tulsi Gabbard has like a lot of foreign policy chops. She's on the foreign policy committee and all that kind of stuff. Like, she would be pretty good. Elizabeth Warren would also be a pretty good candidate. Although I will say that that Elizabeth Warren's a bit, like, if we're concerned about age, she's a bit old for the job as well. And as on top of that, like it would be, it's fine, like, you know, like, it would be fine if, like, one of the candidates was old. If both of them were old, that would be a little worrisome. But she's more, she really doesn't like campaigning. It's really well reported that Elizabeth Warren hates campaigning. And so I think that would be the main thing that would stop her. I imagine, though, that she would have a part in Sanders' cabinet, though, if he ever got elected. But being, like, the vice president of the United States would probably not go well. She probably wouldn't take it. But I do think that Tulsi Gabbard fits his weaknesses, and she's a solid pick, and she has that sort of chops that a lot of, like, that would get a lot of the Democratic Party in line behind the ticket, and would also, like, she's just integrated enough in the party to get a lot of party support. And she's got the thing about being a veteran. She'd be the first woman vice president in American history. She'd be the first Hindu to ever hold an executive office. So she'd do great. And I do think that it'll work. So Tulsi Gabbard is, like, my dream pick for his vice presidential candidate, because she would complement him well. As far as, like, the question about defeating the alt-right, it's already in it's like, I think that it's going to be an uphill battle. Trump has sort of destroyed himself, and with the alt-right trying to get behind Trump in 2020 will be difficult. The alt-right kind of had its moment, and Charlottesville sort of exposed its colors. And I'm wondering if that's going to make things a little bit more difficult going forward. It's already made things a bit more difficult to get behind. The alt-right's no longer a thing that you can be proudly in public anymore. So, I don't know. I see maybe that I see maybe the makings of a high watermark for them, especially after Charlottesville. It seems that they weren't able to bounce back after Charlottesville in any meaningful way, which is nice. I do think that when elections happen, though, like, I think that we really undervalue or underestimate how strong party loyalty is, and that people will vote for Trump, even if he's a disaster. Or it might be what's it called? It might be Mike Pence doing, like, a kind of President Ford type thing, depending upon how 2 years of a Democratic Congress goes. A lot of it means, like, I think that like the idea of doing a Democratic Congress for 2019 and 2020, which is what it's looking like, will make a lot of change. I'll be curious about how that goes. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens, because I do think that the 2020 election, which, you know, unofficially will start pretty early in 2019, will be interesting to watch. But I do think that there's a lot of the dynamics of it are going to be based on how 2018 works out, how November works out. So if you're American, vote for the Democrats. They need it, even though, yeah, they're, like, not the greatest party, but they're the only one you got. David Chipman, without nukes, would there have even been a Cold War? Probably not. 25580 question. Did you check? This is actually a question before you read it. Argos Panoptes. Do you think that super male vitality works? And if it does, on which part of the body? Okay, we can't make that joke anymore because it's not funny. Jacob Rodriguez. When do you think the Democrats will win the Senate and Congress back? I do think that Congress looks very likely in this election in 2018. Senate is kind of a toss-up. It's not looking like the Democrats will take the Senate, but it'll be close, and it definitely will be close enough that they'll have trouble passing like Supreme Court nominees. So, I don't know. There is this sort of purple shift going on in a lot of states that were firm Republican states. But then there's also like a red shift going on. Like there's a blue shift going on in some of the southwestern states that are becoming more Hispanic. But there is also a red shift going on in the Midwest where the Democrats, because of neoliberalism, have abandoned those states. So if we trade like Michigan for New Mexico and Arizona, is that really a good thing? I don't think so. But who knows? If the Democrats get on board with like a truly progressive candidate in 2020, which I still have my doubts about, but we'll see. Then maybe we'll see something interesting. Hey, Michael Collins, how's it going? Oh man, I gotta okay. 255 AD. What would you say to a man who's been Me Too'd but wants to make it right? A good example of that would actually be Dan Harmon, the creator of Community and Rick and Morty. He was exposed for being very inappropriate and being very cruel to somebody who rejected his romantic advances during the run of Community, and he used as an opportunity to make amends and try and apologize, and he made a really big deal about it, and actually it was commendable. So I would say that apologize, and don't just apologize half-assedly. Don't make excuses for what you did. You need to dig down and realize what was it deep inside that made you think that you were entitled to do whatever you did to a woman or a man that was against their consent. You have to really think about that. You have to really come to a conclusion about that. And don't, it's hard. Making excuses for yourself is easy. But, yeah, that's what I would do. If I was the person. If you were to say, yeah, this is something I did. I held internal, I had misogynistic beliefs. I believed women were something to be attained, and they were, I dehumanized them in my mind, and I acted upon that in the worst way possible, and, and that led to, it would be, they would have to work this out on their own, and you would, say, yeah, now I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but, gotta, think of how I can move forward from here. What can I, I'm going to, you would have to dedicate time to try to right the cause you made, and, yeah, it's to apologize and be genuine and mindful. In many ways, I would even only do that in public after you have done that in private to the people that you've hurt. So, I was just giving an example. If I was, someone's publicist who was saying, how do you react to them getting Me Too'd? I imagine that would be the way I would go. Because right now they seem to be going with the angle of just, put your head under for a few months, maybe a few years, and then when you come back, everyone will forget because that's worked in the past, but, Emperor Alexander, would you consider Sean Hannity, Glenn Beck, Rush Limbaugh comparable to Alex Jones, or is Alex Jones far worse than the three when it comes to those controversies? I think that it's interesting. They come from different directions. Now, Glenn Beck is different. Glenn Beck has, gone down his own insane, route. But, Sean Hannity and Rush Limbaugh started as like regular right-wing commentators and then became more reactionary and conspiracy minded as they like got more popular, while like Alex Jones started as pure conspiracy. He was like, you know, his show was about the globalists and the New World Order and the aliens and the like fluoride in the water and like all that kind of stuff. Like it was all about that. And then he moved into, or you could almost say that American politics moved into his realm, which makes sense. So like I feel like they ended up in a similar place in different directions. Glenn Beck got fired from Fox News for saying a lot of stuff that Alex Jones would just say, which just shows how far things have come. Because Glenn Beck was a guy on Fox News, and he was really popular for a while, but then he had to have his show canceled because I can't exactly remember the thing that broke the camel's back, but he was like spouting these long, insane conspiracy theories on his Fox show. Logan Anderson comments on Charlottesville 2 Fascism Boogaloo. Wasn't it a complete disaster? If so, that's hilarious. Radical Viewer, will the next Democratic president essentially be an Obama Bill Clinton, and will we all talk in very little action? I think that, Radical Reviewer, I think that a lot of... Hey, Only Bro. I think that you're going to see a lot of that in Cory Booker. And also with the change in politics that have happened since 2016, the Democratic Party knows that they have a much larger actually left-wing constituency that they need to appeal to, which means that anybody who's going to be running for president is going to be a lot more progressive in their language. Which means they're probably not going to, but they're also probably still going to be, you know, the people that they are, and they're not going to do anything. Cory Booker is like the person who's like number one on that. Because he's going to say all the right things, and you're going to realize that he's the most paid by pharmaceutical companies politician in all of Washington, D.C. right now. Which, important thing to do, to keep. Michael Collins, could Atlantis have really existed? I don't think so. I think that we have a pretty good grasp of geography right now, and knowing that, like, if there was like this continent that we didn't know of, we would have other signs besides, like, you know, that kind of stuff. All right, Jacob Rodriguez, what are your opinions on the idea that government is corrupt? Personally, I'm convinced that most are corrupted. Yeah, that's about right. All right, friends, friends. I think it's time that we did our first political compass test. So let's get that going. All right. Let me just tweak this thing real quick, because for some reason this needs to be deactivated and activated again to work properly. So... Oh, man. Of course, so many more questions come in after I say the one thing. Anyways. I'll get to these questions after we do a first test. So let's talk about political compass tests. They're really popular. They're really popular with some segments of the internet. And I think that they're both useful and not useful. So I will talk about the good things about political compass tests. First of all, sometimes people's political positions on things, even things that they don't realize are political positions, are good to just have, like, even to just ask these basic questions, to, like, bring it out of you and, like, start to give you an idea of what do you actually think about something. Because very often I think a lot of people live their lives without putting much thought to their political positions on things. They just generally choose a tribe and go with it. So, and on top of that, I think that a lot of people are actually more left-wing and more libertarian than they think they are. And I feel like when you take this test, you turn out to be a lot more left-wing and libertarian than you expected. And then you can see like the charts plotted based on how other like famous politicians have filled them out, and you get sort of an idea of like, wow, the political like people who run this country are really off base with like the world. And so I think that's like, you know, interesting. And so I think that there's like a lot of interesting stuff that comes out of it. There is some negative things. Well, first of all, even on the two spectra, like, you know, a lot of people would probably think that there was only the one-dimensional political spectrum, the whole left to right thing. And even the two-dimensional one with the libertarian authoritarian thing, I think that... Will you archive the stream? Yes, I save my streams. They go unlisted, but they go on a playlist that is available for public. So you can always look at the playlist if you want to watch an episode of this show. Anyways, the limits are that politics is a lot more complicated than a spectrum, and people don't easily categorize most of the time. So there's a lot of political positions that someone can hold that are contradictory, that are completely out of tune with other things they believe, but be considered like you could be the idea behind your self-concept and where your actual political leanings lie can be very much at odds. And I think that's a bonus, but there's a weakness in the sense that it makes this sort of pretend idea that politics is somehow this liberal idea of like a debate of ideas, and that somehow there's like that this is like just a discussion that we are having. And I think that that's problematic. I think that there's like issues with thinking that politics is not about groups of people, classes of people who are making alliances and fighting each other. It's very much like this liberal centrist concept that it's all about ideas and it's not about interests or constituencies or people wanting to take power from others, things like that. So that being said, we're going to talk through these questions. I'm going to answer them the way that I would answer them, but we'll discuss the issue maybe a little bit and see where it goes. I know there's a lot of questions, so maybe we will we'll have to pause and talk a little bit about what you guys are interested in. So let's take the test. All right, so the first page is few propositions to start with concerning, no less, how you see the country and the world. Okay, so let's start. If economic globalization is inevitable, it should primarily serve humanity rather than the interests of transnational corporations. Well, that's an easy, strongly agree. Like, I don't know, like, who are you, unless you're like, you know, a Clinton or something, are you really going to answer anything else than that? I'd always support my country, whether it was right or wrong. Strongly disagree. I never support my country. Never. What's it called? I'm the person who says that there's no difference between like nationalistic fascism and patriotism. It's just a milder form. I don't see patriotism as a good thing. So yeah, I don't even like the idea of being allied to a country. I don't even like the idea of countries. You guys know this. No one chooses his or her country of birth, so it's foolish to be proud of it. Well, there you go. You just got my previous question over there. Okay. Our race has many superior qualities compared to other races. Nope. That is bullshit. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Now, here's an interesting question. I'm inclined to say no, but mildly. Then again, we just talked about how we need to make, we need to like take over the Democratic Party and use that kind of rhetoric and use their politicians to make things change. So maybe I'm for it. Maybe I'm for working with people who are your ideological enemies, i.e., like liberals and centrists, in order to beat back the far right, which I think might be a good might. You know what I'm gonna say? I'm gonna say that I agree. I mean, in some situations it's useful, but I definitely don't want to embrace that option. Definitely not feeling super great about it. Lacks a circumstantial checkbox. Yeah, there you go. Military action that defies international law is sometimes justified. No, there's no such thing as justified military action. Sorry. There is now a worrying fusion of information and entertainment. Well, I think I would be out of work if that were true. All right, so like there's a few ways we can take this question. First of all, is like edutainment bad? I would say no. I think edutainment's great. I think that making information available in accessible and interesting ways is a good thing. My career kind of depends on it. It's literally like all three of my jobs that I have right now kind of depend on that. But like, is there a worrying trend of fusing information and entertainment like in the sake of news, like about how flashy and sensational news has become? Well, first of all, I would say it's never not been that way. Just to different degrees. But that's more about the perverse incentives of capitalism. Do I worry about this? I'm not sure if I don't know how I feel strongly about it. I'm going to say no, but in a weak way. Because I do a little bit, but not enough to think that like this is something that we should be like seriously concerned about. Especially post-internet, when a lot of people can look up stuff when they're interested. In which case, there's just a big issue with like reliability. Alright, so now this is about the economy. So, people are ultimately divided more by class than by nationality. I would agree to that. Strongly agree is... I still think that in our modern society, nationality still matters quite a bit. Especially when it comes to like what country you live in. Like, how rich countries are, but that's kind of like a different thing. So I would say that, yeah. Controlling inflation is more important than controlling unemployment. That's a disagree. That's a strong disagree right there. Inflation is usually a net benefit for people who don't own banks. Maybe not hyperinflation, but inflation, like when inflation starts to grow, the government tends to be able to do more with money as the money supply gets bigger, but the more important thing is, like, your debts go down. Your debts become inherently worth less. So, like, yeah, that's useful. So I'm going to go with strongly disagreeing, because controlling inflation is not important at all. Or at least not super important, unless you're, like, doing a World War I Germany thing. Because corporations cannot be trusted to voluntarily protect the environment, they require regulation. Let's strongly agree to that one. From each according to his ability, to each according to his need is fundamentally a good idea. That is bread. That is bread book as hell. So yes, let's go. Strongly agree. It's a sad reflection of our society that something as basic as drinking water is now a bottled, branded consumer product. Hell yeah. That is dumb. Okay. Can't wait till we get to the medical question. I love how like this test is so popular and people have done it so many times. They're like, oh man, I can't wait to see what happens when it gets to this part, you know? Land shouldn't be a commodity to be bought and sold. Well, I would be a really bad anarchist if I didn't strongly agree to that. It is regrettable that many personal fortunes are made by people who simply manipulate money and contribute nothing to their society. Well, that's true. That's like David Graeber's bullshit jobs right there. So yes, strongly agree. Protectionism is sometimes necessary in trade. Agree. What's it called? Protectionism is super important in trade because otherwise you're going to be in a global race to the bottom as far as worker standards go. Kind of like what we have now. Maybe I'll give that a strongly agree. The only social responsibility of a company should be to deliver a profit to its shareholders. Strongly disagree. I mean, the only social responsibility of a company should be to stop existing as soon as possible. But barring that, this is where I said, like, this is like just taking capitalism for granted, right? So a company its function should not be to make money. It's like, that is the fact that companies and the whole idea is just lame. I think that if we're going to, if companies have to exist, they shouldn't be for the effort of making money. They should be for the effort of doing whatever it is they're supposed to be doing. The rich are too highly taxed. Lol. Those with the ability to pay should have access to higher standards of medical care. That's like that bullshit that like Maxime Bernier is trying to push with his People's Party of Canada, and that is some as people would say, that is some bullshit right there. No, there is no people who have money do not deserve better medical treatment than other people. That is ridiculous. Sorry, America, it's true. Government should penalize businesses that mislead the public. Sure, penalize. I mean, they mislead the public by existing, so just like penalize businesses for anything. I don't care, as long as you can get them done. Like, if you can destroy them, the better. The more that you can ruin all companies, the faster we'll get through this whole capitalism thing. A genuine free market requires restrictions on the ability of predator multinationals to create monopolies. Well, that's true. I mean, I wouldn't like this is another oh look, it's a liberal thing. I don't think a free market is a desirable thing, but it is true that in market economies, they tend towards monopolies, and so, yeah, if you want to keep a free market, you pretty much have to use the power of the state to constantly suppress corporate power. Otherwise, it'll just lead to, like, monopolies. Hello from Indonesia. Well, hello, Nusantara Rising. Welcome to the stream. A vote for Tristan is a vote for destroying all companies. I like it, Radical Reviewer. I like it a lot. The freer market, the freer the people, literally the opposite. Alright. Lacks an irrelevant checkbox. That is true, too. Abortion. Alright, so this is social values. Personal social values. Abortion, when the woman's life is not threatened, should always be illegal. Go to hell. Abortion should be legal. Abortion should be mandatory. No. Abortion. I can't believe this is a thing that people still get hung up on. I guess, like, if you really truly believe in a soul, then yeah, this is where you end up. I don't know. Abortion is a thing that I just kind of take for granted because I am a dude who lives in Canada, where abortions are still pretty hard to get, but they're not impossible like in America. We could definitely be doing better, but like in my mind, it's a no-brainer. Like, yeah, legalize abortions, make them free, make them like everywhere. You should be able to like get an abortion anytime you feel like it. You just get like 6 seconds, like, yeah, let's do it right away. It should be super easy. Because it would make life better for everybody, especially women's. Abortions for some, miniature American flags for others. Thank you, Glitch42. I was waiting for someone to make that reference. That is a reference to, I think, my favorite episode of The Simpsons ever made. Which, if you guys haven't seen that, you should. It is a Halloween episode of The Simpsons that aired shortly before the 1996 election, where Bob Dole was running against Bill Clinton, but they both get captured by aliens who plan to take the two presidential candidates and take over the world. Homer accidentally shoots them into space and kills them, and the aliens impersonate Bob Dole and Bill Clinton and go to Earth and start campaigning for president, and they both are so weird and they don't understand how humans work, and so it's just like one of the greatest it's one of like the greatest like collection of things in television of all time, and I am constantly quoting it. I think that it is the best episode of The Simpsons, like I don't even remember what the other Treehouse of Horror episodes are in that, but I just remember that one skit is so good. It's so good, and you need to watch it if you haven't. It is the best episode of The Simpsons ever made. I don't think it's Treehouse of Horror 13. I think it's a under 10, because it was 1996. The Simpsons was only like 7 years old, which makes me think that it might be Treehouse of Horror 6 or 7. But yeah, I'm playing D&D. I have a D&D group that we meet up every Wednesday, and it's awesome because Thought Slime is in it. But one of the people in our group, she's like 22, and she has never watched The Simpsons, and all of us were like, what? Alright, next question. All authority should be questioned? Hell yeah. An eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth? No. That is bad. That is like the opposite of what happens. Don't blame me. I voted for Kodos. Oh man. Oh man. This is the best. It's the best Simpsons. It's the best Simpsons episode. If you haven't watched The Simpsons, save that one for last, because it literally is the best episode of The Simpsons, and you don't want to spoil the rest for yourself. Taxpayers should not be expected to prop up any theaters or museums that cannot survive on a commercial basis. No. Theaters and museums should be built for the reasons of showcasing art and storing our history. I don't think museums and theaters should exist for any other purpose. Hold on. My wife just got home, so there might be a quick interruption. You're 17 and you've watched The Simpsons. No excuses. Good work. Alrighty. What's the next question on the test? Schools should not make classroom attendance compulsory. Ooh. I'm gonna go with a
Hello.
Hi.
You're asking for everyone to hate you.
Why?
By answering this questionnaire.
Are you watching it on the way home?
I was indeed.
Oh, jeez.
Hi, everybody.
So what's the problem?
I'm gonna embarrass you now.
Okay. There's like 6 people on the internet who saw that. I hope you're happy.
57!
57?
Last time I saw.
Oh, man. Look, now my water's bubbly. Thank you for that, by the way. I definitely could have used that. Simpsons is a TV show for old people. No. No. TV...
Get off my lawn!
We're this is a Simpsons house. This is a Simpsons YouTube channel. Bad, Jack Reed. Bad. Okay. So, schools should not make classroom attendance mandatory. I'm going to go with a disagree on that, because if you don't have some form of making sure that kids go to school, their parents are going to fill them full of bullshit. But on the other hand, the state, oh man, like, see, this is the times where it's like, yeah, it's trying to, like, strong-arm you into being a right-wing libertarian. It's questions like that, because right-wing libertarians would say that, no, going to school should not be necessary, because, you know, the less educated you are, the more likely you are to become a libertarian. But, you know, that's a different thing. But trust me, by me, like, clicking on that, it's going to say that I've become more authoritarian because I think that people should be educated, which is such, like, a dumb answer. This is the problem with political compass tests, and I think it's really interesting because a lot of the times political compass tests say more about the people who made the test than they do about you. Including this one, which I guarantee was made by a right-wing libertarian. I think that classroom attendance should be compulsory, or at least highly encouraged. But, you know, school should also not suck. I think that that would be the first thing to invest our interests into. This is a Simpsons 5th floor apartment. Oh, man. You guys remember all sorts of things. But what if a child consents to sweatshop labor over education? Oh, man. The non-aggression principle. Alright, all people have their rights, but it's better for us that different sorts of people should keep their own kind. Yeah, let's not do that. Like, literally, that's not even, like, a political values question. That is, like, a do you understand basic sociology question. Like, it has been shown over and over again that people are, like, smarter and more empathic and less psychopathic and less racist and less everything if they are integrated with other groups of people. Like, one of the number one things that happened to make, like, to help with some, like, you know, overt racial hatred in the South was to force integrate schools. It probably did a lot for people. And, like, yeah, like, if you want to become a better person, you should spend more time around other people. I think that the more that you get to know and understand other people's worldviews and other people's things. I talk about this a little bit in my video that's going to come out on Thursday, but getting educated and going out and seeing other people and understanding how other people see the world is, like, the best thing for making a stronger and diverse and accepting society. And yeah, it's just like, this is a that's a good question. Thoughts on the NAP? Okay. What if the NAP consents, though? Oh man, here we go. All right, go. Have a good night. 255 AD. Good parents sometimes have to spank their children. Again, this is the second question in a row where it's like, do you understand basic social science? Because, you know, good parents sometimes have to spank their children isn't a thing that is up for debate and hasn't been for a very long time. Because, like, childhood psychology has established ages ago that any form of corporal punishment for raising children only results in children who believe that violence is the answer to your question, to problems with the world. I think that, like, hitting kids as a child is what makes, like, fascists and, like, tankies, not, like, you know, it's not a good thing. It's silly. It's silly. Hopefully, like, Perrier doesn't, like, sue me for this. Alright. I know that, like, the seltzer water thing is, like, a trend right now, but I'm riding it hardcore. And it's interesting because, like, LaCroix, I always want to say LaCroix because that's the proper way to say it, but they say that it's pronounced LaCroix. Like, LaCroix never came to Canada, or at least hasn't really in any meaningful way. And so, other companies like Perrier have been showing up to like fill all of our hipster needs for this cool new thing happening in America, but you know, selling it to us. Yeah, like the only way that corporal punishment even comes close to working is like when you smack like when you kind of like give a nice give like a small smack to like a cat that's like, you know, misbehaving, like it's because they can't comprehend like language, like no, like you can't like, and even then like you wouldn't want to hurt them either, you just want to like, you know, say no, don't do that. But yeah, like there is no, like yeah, that this is where like this is like the one thing I really hate about conservatives and conservative thinking, which is that they have this this idea, and it comes out in their climate change stuff, it comes out in their ideas of race, that like they have this sense that they're like entitled to their own reality that is independent of the facts of the world, which is so ridiculous. It's natural for children to keep some secrets from their parents. I strongly agree with that. In fact, the less your parents know about what you're doing, the better. I think that way too many parents become super authoritarian and tell their children how to, not only what their life should be because they want to turn them into little versions of themselves, but don't realize that kids are people that have their own internal lives independent of you. You are part of their life, you are not their whole life, and you are not their dictator. And so, yeah, children who don't have a few secrets to keep from their parents, I worry about. I think that would mess them up. Okay. Possessing marijuana for personal use should not be a criminal offense. Oh, man. Strongly agree. I don't know who would not strongly agree with that. I know. There's a lot of people. There's, like, olds. Alright, let's go to the next one. The prime function of... Oh, man. Oh, man, this one's gonna get me mad. The prime function of schooling should be to equip the future generation to find jobs. Oh, I hate this so much. I think, in my opinion, first of all, strongly disagree. I think that we really need to have a stronger difference between education and training. And I do think that both of them have a role in life, but I do think that education as a method to enrich yourself and become a more well-rounded person who understands others and the world is a very important task, and that is what school is for. Like, I mean, that's what, like grades, like kindergarten through grade 12 are designed to teach you how to be social, to interact with other kids, and also teach you how to do, like, how to read and basic arithmetic. Like, honestly, I've taught undergrads. Like, that's literally all you can rely on them knowing. All high school is a socialization project and a bit of, like, a daycare program. Because you're not going to learn a ton of useful skills. Most of what you learn, because of the state of public education, is so wrong, or so outdated, or so backwards or half-assed, that you're going to have to relearn pretty much everything when you get to university anyway. So really, all you can expect is that they can read and that they can do basic math. Even that even being said, high school and all of, like, elementary school have a very strong function in teaching you how to be a person. School is the best program we have for socializing kids with other kids and having them develop their ability to make friends, maintain relationships, deal with what it's like to live in a social context where you have responsibilities to others, and you have social obligations and things like that. That's what school is for. That's why, like, when people tell me, like, if people in high school, like, reach out to me, or like, what should I be doing? I was like, get in as many extracurriculars as you can, and do fun things. Like, spend time with your friends. That's way more important than the homework. Just do enough of it so that, you don't ruin your life, and you get into whatever it is you want to do when you're done. But for the most part, like, when you're a teenager, like, the most important thing you need to be doing is spending time with your mates. And, hopefully not like me, which was just getting drunk a lot and playing metal. I do think that also, high school and educational stuff, are definitely in a situation where weed should be mandatory. I agree, Cryptosporidium. But I do think that, like, school also will open you up to new experiences and teach you about things that your family will not. So, you get your sexual education, you get your physical education, you get just introduced to different areas of study to see what you like. But most of the time, you'll just get a vague idea of what that is anyway. It's like a sampler. But definitely, when you're in high school and you're in elementary school, even when you're an undergrad, I would say the social aspects of those are some of the things that you're going to remember the most. And, like, as long as you're keeping your grades high enough that you are getting into the academic programs that you want to, you're maintaining that average you need, as long as you're doing that, you should be using this time where you have more free time and more access to your friends than you've ever had in your life, to make good use of that, because eventually you're going to be 29 and you're going to be working, I'm working right now, so I've been working for 11 hours now. So, like, sometimes you'll find out you work 11 hours in a day, and there you are. So, enjoy your ability to just, like, do dick all for several years. It's great, and you'll never get it again, so make the most of it. I know that's the most, like, typical old man advice thing to do, but honestly, just even if you don't have tons of friends, or if you might have some sort of social, issues with maintaining or developing relationships with people, spend this time to follow your interests and, do things that you're interested in. You're never going to get more time to explore your passions than when you're a teenager. But you're also not going to have any money, which is a whole other thing. But, like, in my mind, like, if you're an undergrad, like, if you're a bachelor student at college or university, and you don't plan on going to grad school, like, who gives a crap what average you had when you graduated? Just pass. Just pass. No employer is going to look at your goddamn transcript. Like, just pass and have fun. Like, Christ. Everybody in university is so, like, they're so stressed out and nervous, and they really, really shouldn't be. I'm sorry, Cryptosporidium, if I made you feel bad with this rant. But yeah, enjoy life. Enjoy every moment you can, because, you know what? As a 29-year-old who got a 51% average in high school and still managed to get into a PhD program, I definitely don't regret that I didn't do more homework in high school. Yeah. Which is definitely not advice your parents would give you. Just like when I told two kids who were like 7 and 10 about a month ago that like nobody knows how to do long division. Don't worry, you're not gonna have to remember it for too long. Okay, next question. People with serious inheritable diseases should not be allowed to reproduce. Let's strongly disagree on that. Like, I am not a eugenics person, thank you. Oh boy. Jacob, I'm very sorry. You try to find fun however and wherever you can. I know that there are lots of limits placed on your place in society and your access to money and things like that, but just try your best. Tristan is the worst role model ever. That should be like this channel's slogan. Yeah, I'm not a great role model. I will say that it's things are a lot more complicated than the life path that your parents had. Are you planning on being a parent? Asking for a friend. Okay. Let's move on. Let's go to another thing. The most important thing for children to learn is to accept discipline. Let's strongly disagree with that. Holy crap. That question is like, are you a literal Nazi? Like, holy crap. These are the kind of questions. These are like, what's it called? These are the kinds of questions that like, I still am like, who the hell is answering that? What Grimm Brothers, like 19th century Prussian freaking prude has decided that this is a question, that the only thing for an important child to learn is how to accept discipline? Holy crap. What? Who thinks that? Oh, man. There are no savage and civilized people. There are only different cultures. I'm going to strongly agree to that. Those who are able to work and refuse the opportunity should not expect society support. Let's strongly disagree with that. We have way more than enough stuff that everybody can get what they need without being a quote-unquote drain on society, so who cares? We really shouldn't be worried about that in this day and age. And, because, like, we're not living on a desert island. We live in a highly complex, advanced society. And we really should not worry about the microscopically small amount of people who have the ability to work but don't want to. It's not worth it. It's not... Yeah. When you are troubled, it's better not to think about it, but to keep busy with more cheerful things. I'm gonna just give that a soft disagree. Because, like, that just says, like, do you just, like, ignore your problems and, like, stick your fingers in your ears and do nothing? Like, self-care is important, but, like, it's not that, like, self-care is important, but honestly, like, don't avoid your problems. I feel like that's, like, a lot of the, you know, the problems of the world. People are like, oh, this is too much for me, I'm just gonna check out. Like, that's apathy. Apathy is not great. Oh boy. Alright, first generation immigrants can never be fully integrated within their new country. Strongly disagree. It's like the third question now that's like, are you racist? How racist are you? Are you disagree amount of racist? Are you agree amount of racist? What's good for the most successful corporations is always ultimately good for all of us. Well, I'm going to put a strong disagree on that because that is literally the opposite of true. Like, there is no statement that is more wrong that has ever been said than that. It is literally like saying, black is white. No, it's not. Oh gosh, okay. Big Brother Oni-chan? Oh boy, what did I do? I don't even know what that means. I'm not into the animes. No broadcasting institution, however independent its contact, should receive public funding. I mean, let's get rid of that. Let's say strongly disagree to that because you know, public broadcasting is great. It's one of the very few media platforms we have where the people creating it are not constantly worried about money or selling things, I should say. They're worried that, I don't know, the non-profit motive is way better. So, like, let's at least have one that does it. Alright. Okay, let's see this. Let's see what this next one is. How do you see wider society? This should be fun. Our civil liberties are being excessively curbed in the name of counterterrorism. That's very true. A significant advantage of a one-party state is that it avoids all the arguments that delay progress in a democratic political system. No. Because dictatorships, you are just as likely to have a incompetent leader who, like, destroys everything that you have to then fix later. You know, for every good dictator, you have, like, 3, like, power-hungry monsters that you know, spoil the whole batch. So, you know, let's say dictatorships are not good. Okay. Although the electronic age makes official surveillance easier, only wrongdoers need to be worried. That's not true. Everything gets worse when the state looks at it. Hello, Geely136. Or Geely. Alright, the death penalty should be an option for the most serious crimes. Let's not do that. No one deserves to be murdered. I know, controversial take, but I don't like killing people. It's super not fun. So let's, you know, let's just say that, let's just not do that. So yeah, let's... Oh man, I'm sorry. I guess, like, I'm too politically radical now. The police are coming after me. Oh no. I'm sorry about this. Abstract art that doesn't represent anything shouldn't be considered art at all. Oh my goodness. Is this, like, the question here is, like, are you Paul Joseph Watson? It's like, no. I am very not Paul Joseph Watson. This is a thing that I don't understand. Therefore, I am mad. My name is Paul Joseph Watson. That was a terrible Paul Joseph Watson, but he just is like this British guy, and he just gets right up in the camera and goes, I'm mad about this thing. Oh gosh. He's the worst. Paul Joseph Watson is the worst. I imagine the next thing that's going to happen is Paul Joseph Watson's going to hop off InfoWars and try to start his own thing, and it'll be hilariously bad. Like all Paul Joseph Watson projects. In a civilized society, one must always have... You know what? Paul Joseph Watson and, like, that like, dumb, like, 14-year-old who, like, wears a suit who runs Thoughty2 or whatever, the two of them can go start a really dumb YouTube channel together. I'm sure it'll be just the most wonderful Hindenburg-esque disaster in history. Yeah, so in a civilized society, one must always have people above to be obeyed and people below to be commanded. Yeah, screw that. Long live the commune. Okay. In criminal justice, punishment should be more important than rehabilitation. No. Jeez. Restorative justice, yo. It is the best thing. It's a waste of time to try and rehabilitate some criminals. Let's strongly disagree on that. Yeah. That's not fun. The business person and the manufacturer are more important than the writer and the artist. Oh, that is so wrong. That is so, so wrong. Mothers may have careers, but their first duty is to be homemakers. Jeez. Who? Okay, that one, I can imagine some people who would actually think that. I think that they are the wrongest people ever, but jeez. Just right out there, huh? I thought that, like, misogynists now tend to, like, you know, bury their prejudices under, like, layers of bullshit, like saying that it's about video games journalism or something. Multinational corporations are unethically exploiting the plant genetic resources of developing countries. I mean, that's just objectively true. It's called Monsanto. You don't have to say multinational companies. It's Monsanto. That is the name of it. The, like, literal evil corporation in chief. It is, like, literally going to countries and, like, taking the genetic diversity of their crops and, like, mutating them into like, you know, a version that is slightly more efficient, and then, like, you know, telling them that they can't get new seeds. Like, I'm all for genetically modifying crops. I love genetically modifying crops. I think it's the greatest thing ever. I think golden rice is amazing, but man, Monsanto does everything to make you not believe in genetically modified crops, because they're literally doing every evil thing they can think of. Oh man. Alright. Making peace with the establishment is an important aspect of maturity. I'm going to go with no on that one. I think that if you're making peace with the establishment, it is an aspect that you are a comfortable person. Hello, D-Quack. Alright, next page. We're coming up. We're coming up on the end here, folks. We're in the looking glass. Alright, let's talk about, religion. Okay, astrology accurately explains many things. Nope. You cannot be moral without being religious. I think that that's another case where it's like, actually, usually it leads to the opposite, but, Charity is better than Social Security as a means to helping the genuinely disadvantaged. Nope. Some people are naturally unlucky. Nope. It is important that my child's school instills religious values. Nope. Okay, that was easy. Number 6. Oh, we're going to talk about sex. This should be fun. Sex outside of marriage is usually immoral. Nope. Same-sex marriage and a stable, loving relationship should not be excluded from the possibility of child adoption. Sure. I don't see what the problem... Pornography depicting consenting adults should be legal for the adult population. Yeah. What goes on in a private bedroom between consenting adults is no business of the state. Yes. No one can feel naturally homosexual. That's, like, another, like, biologically shown to be not true. These days, openness about sex has gone too far. Yeah, strongly disagree on that one. Alright, folks. Are you ready to see where I stand on the graph? So this is like a bunch of crap, but where they explain like left and right wing, and there's the economic blah 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 blah. So here's the 4 quadrants. If you've been on the internet and seen all the jokes, you know, the authoritarian right, where all the neoliberals and the fascists are. Authoritarian left, where all the tankies are. Libertarian right, where all the pedophiles are, and also all the libertarians, but I repeat myself. And libertarian left, where all the cool people are smoking weed in the little green corner. So, let's see where we wind up. A word about neocons and neolibs. U.S. neoconservatives, with their commitment to high military spending and the global assertion of national values, tend to be more authoritarian than hard right. By contrast, neoliberals opposed to such moral leadership, and, more especially, the ensuing demands of the taxpayer belong to a further right but less authoritarian region. Paradoxically, the free market in neocon parlance also allows for the large-scale subsidy of military-industrial complex, a considerable degree of corporate welfare and protectionism which is deemed in national interest. These are viewed by neolibs as impediments to the unfettered market forces that they champion. Well, that's cute. Alright, okay, yep. So, economically left and right, negative 9.75, and socially libertarian versus authoritarian, negative 8.87. So, yep. They put me right in that damn corner. Yeah. That is not surprising, even in the slightest. But there we are. We did our first political compass test. We did the main one, the one that the term came from. So there you go. I'm sure this is a really big shock to your systems that I am politically left-wing, very left-wing, about as left-wing as one can be, and about as libertarian as one can be. Shocker. Well, I'm going to take a quick break because I have been drinking a lot of water. So I'm going to be back in just a couple minutes, and then I'll answer some of your questions, and then we'll do another thingamajig. Sound good? All right. So go get a snack or go to the washroom or something. I'll be back in a couple minutes. Hey friends, I am back. Hello! Hello everybody. Sorry about that quick interruption. It's just time. How is everyone doing? I see who's in the chat right now. We got Hawar, who I still I need a better name. I've got my namesake Tristan Teal, who's got a creeper picture. That's nice. Yeah. So your ideology fits Huey Long and Kaiser Reich, I guess. I don't know. Let's see what's next. I guess this 8 values one is pretty fun. This will probably be the next one we'll do. Hello, Ron's here. So yeah, after I told you that the purpose of school was to become socially, to spend time hanging out with your friends, you guys hung around. Thank you. Thank you, all of my friends. How many of there are you right now? I can't even tell. It Because it says 62? Oh no, there's 51 right now. There's 51 of you right now. That's so many. That is so cool. Thank you, friends. Thank you, friends. Oh boy. So before we start the next one, let's answer some questions. Alrighty, I collected some questions while we were doing the political compass test, so let's talk about it a bit. So, what do you say that we switch back to the full face cam for a little bit? While I'm making that really great face. Because I gotta do this for some reason. There we go. Alright. Okay. Let's start with Cliptosporidium 137. Question: will you ever do a video on the history of the Soviet Union? Well, my friend, are you in luck, because I have a whole web page where people can submit ideas for step back videos, and you can upvote ones that are already put up. So if you go to this website and you go to the page, you can see all sorts of ideas that I've put down or that other people have put down, and you can vote for the ones that you want to see happen. And I think the USSR is already in there. I think it is. If it's not, you can add it, because that's definitely one I've wanted to do. I don't see it, so you could add it, and I'll vote for it. But definitely, if you want to see videos in a subject in an area that you think is important, just go to that page and upvote and add stuff. Yeah. Okay, Glitch42, is Elizabeth Warren the real deal or corrupt? She's pretty legit. She did say once that she believes in markets and stuff like that, but I know that you kind of have to say that when you're a, senator. So, she's limited in what things that she's allowed to say. But, I think that she seems pretty legit. Hello, Will E. Only bro, you heard about the counter-Earth theory? I have not. Luis Ineas Guarita, a patron and friend of the channel. Tristan, any comment on the Brazilian election that is coming up in October? All I know is that this is this is the first election since the president sort of had this soft coup happen, and there was this nice president who was a lady and had a whole cabinet full of people of color and all sorts of stuff, and then basically a right-wing white dude took over with this right-wing white dude cabinet, and now it's up for re-election, and I imagine nobody is happy. I don't really know the details. I'm not really super in tune with Brazilian politics, because there's a Brazilian countries out there, and I don't know what to do with it. So but I also don't know Portuguese, which also makes things hard. But Brazil, I don't know, does Brazil have some sort of right-wing populist thing happening? If so, don't vote for that. I imagine that's bad. Hello, Jacob. Question from Cliptosporidium 137. Have you heard of distributism? No, I haven't. There's a new ism every day, it seems. Okay. Alright. Cliptosporidium. Thoughts on the NAP? I think the NAP is a really funny joke that libertarians try to use and ANCAPs try to use. in order to say why their society wouldn't just instantly fall apart into horrible bloodshed and terror. Yeah. Nusantara Rising. Thoughts on the Indonesia Pancasila? I am very sorry. I have never. I don't know What's the Indonesian language? It's called like Javanese or something like that, right? So I would mess that up. And the civic non-racial nationalism. I don't know too much about that stuff. I should probably read more on that part of the world. Oh boy. Literally just now. What is Ron talking about? Anyways. Okay. Let's guys, just keep asking stuff. Okay. I'll start answering things now. Sirloin of Ice. Hitler was a cat. Would you pet him? No, bad cat. I am wary about petting strange cats. If I don't know them, or if I know they have a bad reputation, like cats can be very grumpy if they're not the right kind of cat. Now, and I've spent a lot of time around cats, so I know a grumpy cat when I see it. And Hitler would be a very, very grumpy cat. Yeah. Okay. Logan Anderson, 16-year-old anarchist who wants to do something with their life. Advice. Plenty of time for you to be an anarchist activist. I would say you're a young person right now. You have full rights to still enjoy your youth and do fun things. I will say that as you are getting into you're growing up, you're 16, that as a person who's politically woke, I would probably say, do what you can. You can't vote, but you can volunteer. You can go to protests. I would suggest that you try your best to avoid a criminal record. That would be great. Go to school, learn a lot of things, follow your passions. Don't worry about needing to read a bunch of dead Eastern European, political philosophers. It's not necessary. Just try to get as much as you can out of the sort of dystopian nightmare we live in. Try to go to school. Try to get as much school in your brain as you feel you need, and then honestly just go out in the world and try looking for whatever opportunities you can find, because they're tough. Life is rough right now. But on top of that, always keep a good group of friends. There are anarchists in most cities, and I'm sure if you find them, you can make yourself a pretty good group of friends. And if you find anarchists in any given place, you're going to find a batch of pretty nice people somewhere. So definitely do it. It's a good place to get started. All right. Indonesian's the main language. Okay. Hey, buddy, want to try overthrowing the government? Yeah, I hope, Logan, you got okay advice out of that. I would say just, there's a lot of injustice and a lot of bad things in the world, but don't let that stop you from enjoying your younger years. There's going to be plenty of time for you at the front lines once, you've had your fun. And also, if your political activism isn't community focused and fun, then you're doing it wrong anyway. Okay. Son of Osiris, do you think that these tests are too based in liberalism? Yes, they are. I was kind of mocking these tests questions in some places. Like, that last one was very much written by a right-wing libertarian, because all of the questions about religion are really dumb, like, blatant, over-the-top, like, evangelical-y type questions that are written to make you want to disagree with them. And then a lot of the stuff that says, like, libertarian, or that that talks about the free market is, like, inherently a good thing. Like, there's a lot of signs that a right-wing libertarian made that test. Have you read Gramsci? Oh, gosh. Okay, so Argos Panoptes. Bagel or Hegel? Well, you don't need, like, a 6-book description to just understand what bagels are about, so I'm going to go with bagels. What modern communist nation would you like to live in if you had to? And what is the least worst communist nation? I think a lot of people piped up and said Cuba. Definitely Cuba. I would like to live in tropical paradise, please. There's, like, you know, there's, like, resorts and stuff in Cuba. I don't think there's any, like, you know, resorts in North Korea. So I'm gonna take Cuba. It's not perfect, but if I had to choose, I'll take it. Are you part of the anarcho-monarchist gang? No, I'm part of the Step Back Orc gang. Oh yeah, I didn't forget. We're the orcs, and if the alt-right is going to have their Warhammer 40k fantasies about being space marines, then we can be the orcs and destroy all things that they hold dear. All right. Next question. Also, like, Cuba has some of the best hospitals in the world, which would be nice. Will E, do you think Oregon is a purple state? Yeah, I think there's like isn't there like a huge urban-rural divide in Oregon? Like, if you live in like the big cities, it's very, very left-wing, but when you get into the boonies, you find a lot of like weird right-wing people. That's the way that someone described Oregon to me, anyway, back in the day. Back when I was friends with Husky Starcraft, like before, like back in like 2008 or whatever. That's what I remember hearing. Because if I remember, Husky was from Oregon. Is he still a thing? Is Husky Starcraft still a thing? Is StarCraft still a thing? I feel like I haven't heard anything about it in like 5 years. Benjamin, who do you think will win the general election in Florida in November? I have no idea. I haven't followed. I know that Scott Walker looks like he's going to get Scott Walker and Ted Cruz both look like they could potentially lose, which makes me very happy. I would love to see like that man made of like freaking blobfish, like Ted Cruz lose the election. That'd be so hilarious. Byzantium 44. Quick question: what is your favorite New Deal program? Probably the one that built a whole bunch of libraries across America. I think that one did a lot of good. Also, the one that hired a whole bunch of artists. I think that would be great. Jacob, watch overthrowing the government? Sure. Have you read Noam Chomsky's Manufacturing Consent? Yes, I have. I had when I was doing my comprehensive exams. It's a little outdated now, honestly, as a media theorist and a media historian who read a lot of books on media theory and media history. It is a little outdated now. Ron, something I've been hearing about recently on Discord is the post-left anarchists and how they're the worst. Do you know anything about it? No, I don't. Do you think the radical left is just secretly a book club? Kind of. It shouldn't be, but it is. There are a lot of, like, challenge coiny type leftists, like what's his name? Like Muke, who don't think that you're a real leftist unless you've read, like, a giant book of, like, dead white men writing, so Yeah, I think that it's a dumb pissing contest that we really should stop. JCM Gomez, just wondering, what are your thoughts on the Venezuelan social political crisis? I think it's a complicated situation, to say the least. I do think that Maduro is acting like an authoritarian in a lot of cases, and I do think that in a lot of, like, the way that we're portraying it, where, like, there's just, like, average everybody Joes who are fighting against Maduro's government, those average ordinary Joes are very right-wing, and they're right-wing nationalists and people who are working on behalf of the very, very wealthy elite. But meanwhile, Maduro is basically, like, trashing the entire Hugo Chavez legacy by acting like an authoritarian, like, strongman. And neither of those situations is a good one to be in. I can't... If I were living there right now, I'd be very torn about what to believe. Oh, God, okay. Son of Osiris, have you played Hearts of Iron 4 or Kaiserreich? I have not played Kaiserreich. I have played Hearts of Iron 4. No mods, though, and I honestly, like, I play a lot of Paradox games. I have no clue how Hearts of Iron 4 works. I have not been able to play it and be in any way good. Ever. I'm the worst at it. I've tried to find guides, but, like, the meta's changed a lot, so I have no idea how to play Hearts of Iron 4 in a good way. Sirloin of Ice, have you heard about the Myanmar genocide? Yes, the genocide against the Rohingya people. It's a horrible thing that's going on that we really don't give enough attention to because because the victims are Muslims and the perpetrators are Buddhists, and we don't really give a ton of attention to them, which sucks because they're going through some pretty horrible shit right now. They're being like almost like something like 70% of the Rohingya people have left Myanmar since it started. It's the worst. Yeah, I know that, like, Florida is, like, running, like, this isn't Senator. I'm just like, the governor is like that racist thumb man who looks like he's got this head that looks like he's like Mr. Clean, and he has like way too white teeth, and he's just like kind of creepy. But I don't really know that much about Florida politics. I'm sorry about that. Logan Anderson, I plan on doing volunteer work in an urban garden. And Tristan, thanks. Oh, well, that's very nice of you, Logan. Urban garden is a great thing to volunteer for. I do think that as anarchists, we tend to like to think that our protest and our praxis and our political activism should be like black bloc and fighting the police and like all that kind of like hardcore stuff. But honestly, you can do anarchist praxis by doing something that is way less dangerous, especially when you have a lot to lose, like when you're young, like working for an urban garden or maybe helping out with Food Not Bombs or something like that. Definitely, those are really good angles to go down. There's a lot of like starting a free store or time banking, like all sorts of things that you can do as an anarchist, and you can do in a neighborhood that isn't that is not just a pageantry of doing a protest every once in a while, which is important, or the violent work of protecting communities against fascist violence, like Antifa work. That kind of shit's like, leave that for like adults, because like you don't want to get hurt, And so honestly, like urban gardens, Food Not Bombs. If you can find a Food Not Bombs chapter in your group, that would be amazing. That is like one of the best organizations you can sign up. You can do real anarchist praxis without without like putting yourself in mortal danger. Other things like just like looking at what the anarchist groups in your city are up to. Like I said, free stores are really cool, where you just have like trade and things that people aren't using anymore. It's not all Smash. Okay. Let's see. Vive la MGTOW. Oh, come on. That is a bad name. Come on. I hope you're not actually a MGTOW. That would suck. What if Europe never colonized Africa? Because some are saying they would be way worse or better. Your take. I mean, be way better for the Africans. That's for sure. Maybe, yeah, like, what's it called? Europe wouldn't have as much power to dominate over others and be cruel and terrible. Like, yeah, I don't see a downside. Have you heard of the Anti-Deutsche? Followers of Adorno and Horkheimer's opinions about anti-Semitism in Israel, basically. Oh boy, you have lost me. Oh gosh. Gross. No one likes a MGTOW. They are the worst. Radical Reviewer. Will it come out that the USA/CIA was funding counter-revolutionary types in Venezuela? I wouldn't be surprised. It very much jives with things they've done in the past. Jacob, I thought of a question. Do you think Truman had the right to drop bombs, especially the second one, since they already demonstrated the power with Hiroshima? No! Dropping a weapons of mass destruction over a populated area is not a good thing that anybody should do, especially ones that have not been tested on humans, like nuclear weapons. Holy crap. Yeah, that was, yeah, let's not do that. That was not good. Okay. I will say to Hoar on the Smash thing, I think that we're okay with, like, you know, if you're a 16-year-old anarchist, maybe you just don't get started with the Antifa action, like, right away, you know? Have a few years where you're just helping in the community garden and stuff. Let's not send, like, teenagers to the front line, if I can. What is a MGTOW? So a MGTOW is basically, oh man, I am very sorry that I have to introduce this to you. MGTOW stands for Men Going Their Own Way, and it is a, like, openly misogynistic movement of men who are, like, convinced that the world is designed to serve women, and, like, that women, like, the whole, like, all the pickup artists, all of the, like, misogyny internet stuff is all, like, MGTOW gone wild. JCM Gomez. If you could change one thing in history, what would that be? I would sink Christopher Columbus's ship halfway across the Atlantic. That would be pretty good. I guess moving to a Como is really good. If you can move to a commune or some sort of collectivized living and that's okay with you and you're comfortable with it, do it up. That's an awesome idea. They're not very common. They're hard to come across, and even when you do find them, they're kind of hard to get into because they're usually full, but if you can find it, definitely do it. Son of Osiris, have you watched Cody Johnston, who runs Some More News? Yeah, I've watched Cody Johnston a few times. He's pretty funny. He kind of his shtick about, like, oh, Trump did things, I'm mad about it, and that's about it, is it's kind of old, but he's really funny about it, so it's okay. But where would you be if Christopher Columbus hadn't gone to the islands off of America? I probably would have never been born. But the world would be a lot better, so I'll take the hit. You think the A-bombing wasn't that bad because it forced Japan to surrender in a culture that didn't see surrender as a word that could be done. Operation Downfall to end World War II. We predict more deaths. The thing is that that's like the argument that they gave at the time, but there's a few things that have come out wrong about that. One, the prediction on how many people would have died in Operation Downfall goes down almost. It goes down with every single estimate. It's a way lower than it was when they made the decision. Second of all, Japan had already surrendered. They had actually offered to surrender several times to the Americans. They just didn't offer an unconditional surrender. Third, there's a lot of evidence that the Americans didn't listen to their offer of a surrender because they wanted to use the bomb because they had invested so much money in it. And they wanted to do it as a show of power to the Soviet Union so that the Soviet Union couldn't get a foothold on Japan. And there's also a lot of evidence that Japan didn't surrender because of the nuclear weapons, but surrendered because of the Soviet Union declaring war on Japan. Those are basically the main things. Como is in Columbia, Missouri. Oh, okay. Fox of Fate. Why do you think many Americans don't know about the Australian involvement in World War II? Most seem to think that we were in the British military and did nothing ourselves. Yeah, you guys fought in China for the most part, right? Fought what's it called? Didn't Australia have a bunch of the oceanic islands were Australian at one point, and the Japanese basically took it from the Australians? I seem to have memories that Australia controlled part of New Guinea and stuff like that around World War II, but honestly my knowledge of the Pacific Theater and especially the role of Australia in World War II is very limited. Should I watch yours? Alright. DQuack, if Columbus died, wouldn't you not exist for millions of people? I do think that the world that, that if there was no Columbus, the world that would have been made would be a lot better. Although, thinking about it now, there probably would have been another person who would have done it anyway. The discovery of America was kind of inevitable one way or another. So I guess it wouldn't make that much of a difference, actually. What is your opinion on cutting down analysis of capitalism? It could end with crowds wanting to lynch the bankers, etc., which is why it's called structural anti-Semitism. Wait, what? Wait, okay. This is okay. So it's a thing about the people who try to say that because socialism's against things like banking that it's anti-Semitic. Yeah, that's not. I don't agree with that. First of all, that makes the assumption that the Jews are all bankers, which is yeah, whatever. That's not necessarily true. On top of that, there's a world of difference between being against the financial system that exists today and wanting to and being I don't know. I feel like that's a really lame Tory argument that a lot of people make, or that at least some people have made. That sounds like something that Stephen Harper would say. Argos Panoptes, thoughts on liberals? They range from harmless to impediments on the progress of mankind. But unfortunately, there's way more of them than there are of us, and so we have to placate and make them happy. And they scare easily, so you can't say anything too radical because they still have podcasts that have millions of listeners where they say that the problem with healthcare is that it covers too many people. Because that's a thing that Ezra Klein said. Healthcare or health insurance is too expensive because it covers too many things. Ezra Klein, who probably has never had to look at his bank balance once in his life. Yeah. Argos, should I watch yours or Religion for Breakfast's stream? I don't know. Check out both and see which one's more interesting and just do what you want to do. Yeah. Alright, I don't know what's going on in the chat right now. What, is Ezra Klein not a liberal? What else would you define Ezra Klein as? I know that David, you're Canadian, so maybe you're mixing Ezra Klein and Ezra Levant. Like Ezra Levant is like the fascist who is basically like the Canadian version of what's his name? I don't know, the guy who ran Breitbart for a while. Like Ezra Levant is the owner of Rebel Media, which is like the Canadian version of Breitbart, which is not who I'm talking about. Ezra Klein is the CEO of Vox, or the editor-in-chief of Vox, or whatever. They're both named Ezra. Alright. Let's see. Son of Osiris, would you ever consider making videos about alternate history? I get asked this a lot. I don't know. I do have a couple ideas I could run with, but I feel like that would be so off-brand for Step Back at the moment. I think that if I had a real alternate history, I would either make it and then give it to Cody and see if what happens if we put on the alternate history hub, because I'm sure that he would love like a free video, or something else, because I feel like it wouldn't fit on Step Back, but I do have occasional ideas. Although, you know, alternate history is a weird genre. Yeah, no worries, David. Oh my, we have some interesting questions now coming up too. Okay. Jacob Rodriguez. Tristan, what do you think would have happened to the United States if Nathaniel Greene hadn't been able to stop Cornwallis in the South? I could have seen some situations where, if I'm recalling this correctly, like, you could have seen some situations in which not all 13 colonies separated. Like, the U.S. could have won the war, but maybe the South stayed British or something. I don't know. General Cornwallis, he was the one who, oh no, wait, that was Lord Dunmore, who went up and down the Mississippi freeing slaves as long as they would fight for the British Army. That could have boiled over. Watching both yours and Religion for breakfast, this is like hell. I'm sorry. Collab with Cody. I would love to collab with Cody. We haven't done one in a while. I did some collaborations for him. He gave me like things to read and everything, and then the videos just never came out, and I don't know what happened with them. Please talk more about history on the channel than current events. Well, I'm trying. Cody is not an anarchist. That is true. DQuack, thoughts on Quebec and Canadian politics, and do you think some policies to help integrate them has disadvantaged other groups like Western Canada with little to none French population? I mean, they don't ask for all that much. They ask for like language rights, and there are francophones out west, and like, you know, teaching French, like, oh man, so bad, you have to learn a second language that, you know, is useful if you want to get a job in federal politics. Man, Quebec's so mean to you for making you learn this incredibly useful language. Like, I don't know. Byzantium 44, do you think there's a place on the left for people who believe in economic redistribution but have socially conservative tendencies? I don't think so. I mean, socially conservative tendencies are reactionary right-wing views, and they're not really, like, they're actively, like, dehumanizing other people. I don't really see a place for people who attack others because of who they are. Alright, DMPOKUAEV. Thoughts on bipartisan politics and bipartisanism. It's a canard. It has never been a thing. And when it is a thing, it's a sign that politics has become so frozen and so... Like, the only time that there's been bipartisanship in a meaningful way have been times where a country basically has such a narrow Overton window that, like, there is no point in voting anyway. So, like, yeah. Millions of Peas, which is a great name. What is your favorite bug? Ooh, I don't know. That's an interesting question. I like ants. I think ants are cool. Ants are pretty sweet, actually. Is So That Happened coming back? We tried to bring it back, like, last weekend. It just didn't pan out because Emperor Tigerstar was busy. But, yeah, we're like, Cody's getting finished with his book now, so we're trying to get it going again. We just have to all be around on Sunday night. He tried to start it up a few weeks ago, but I was out of town. And then he tried to start it again last weekend, but Tigerstar was out of town, so hopefully this weekend. We'll see how it goes. It's up to Cody now to put it together. But it's not dead. We're trying to get it back going. Like, we're not done with it. It's just trying to get everything together. Argos Panoptes, have you studied military history? And if you did you also read Hans Delbruck? I have not read military history. I'm not really into it that much. Would you say Cody's ideology is very similar to Christian democracy? Like you're talking about like Angela Merkel's party? I would probably... He's like a Republican, but like in the John Kasich way. I don't know. Things don't go well when we talk about politics. We just kind of avoid it. And he's not really a person who likes to talk about what he believes that much, so I just drop the subject. Is there a single ContraPoints video you haven't watched? I don't think so. Unless there's like some really, really old ContraPoints videos from like before the time when she was making video essays that I don't remember, but I think I've seen them all. Jenga Tree, do you have involvement in your local anarchist/unions? Kind of. I mean, we have that whole... I've been to like one protest, and we've now had 2 meetings of those like meetups that I did with Thought Slime and Mexi, and those have brought out some interesting folks, so maybe you can start calling that something. Do you know of any good books about Otto von Bismarck? No, I don't. Sorry, NC Flame. Alright, what is your favorite drink? Mine is tea. Well, mine is probably beer. If I were to be perfectly honest. Root beer also. I like that a lot. But I don't get to have it very much because it's full of sugar. So, yeah. Root beer, IPAs, Earl Grey tea. I would probably say those are my go-tos. Will Emperor Tigerstar and Cody ever make a face reveal on your channel and talk about history on your channel? That would be a lot. Oh, thank you, Benjamin. Have a good night. All right. Did you see the Rojava talk that Cody and Tigerstar had? No, I didn't. And given how they both feel about things, I really don't think I should. I feel like I should just keep myself blissfully ignorant. All right. Let's do this. Let's do the 8 values test. Let's go. All right. So this is a different type of values political compass, which instead of having the sort of Cartesian plane look at doing this, they have 8 different like sliders. So it's like 8 different scales to see where you fit. So it's 8-dimensional. And it sees where you fit on sort of the basics of politics. So like your idea on economics, on diplomacy, civil liberties, social traditions, markets, world stuff, authority and progress. So it's a political quiz that tries to put all those, and they kind of put different things, different ideologies under different umbrellas. So that's a thing that we could go and look at. So yeah. What is the closest match made at the bottom of the results? And so let's see. All right. So let's take this test. It's only over 2 hours in. You've only done 1 questionnaire. Oh man. All right. You'll be presented with a series of statements. For each one, click the button with your opinion on it. Got it. All right, oppression by corporations is more of a concern than oppression by governments. Oh boy. I'm going to go with... Oh. Because I know where this wants me to go. This is like another thing where it's like, oh, okay, this is a test that basically just assumes that anarchism doesn't exist. Because I know what it's trying to say. It's trying to ask the question, do you believe that corporation... Like, if you say that you disagree... then you're saying that you're pro-corporation. If you agree, you're saying that you're pro-government. And those are the only 2 things. And it's like, well, they're both kind of bad. Although I will say, if we're going to go, I'm going to go with agree, because if you think about it, if there's institutions that are run by the government, institutions that are run by private, and if you think about them not so much as distinct entities from each other, but as different types of authorities, then governments are at least marginally democratic, and at least have to pretend to listen to what you want to do, and are organized theoretically around listening to constituents. But also no, because... But corporations are basically they're microstates in and of themselves, but they are run by like dictatorships. Like there is no democracy, there is no voting, there is only the will of the boss. If you think about it like that, then at least pretending to be a democracy is a little bit better than being a dictatorship. So I'm going to go with just a regular agree. Oh man, political compass. You should play nation states. It has over 100 axes. Oh man, I think I played nation states when I was a younger person. It's like a browser game where you make a country, and basically they just they give you like a couple questions a day or something like that, where you answer questions about like there's some sort of political issue and you choose an answer, and it sort of gives you traits based on how you answer them, but basically you start getting the same questions over again, and it gets kind of repetitive, and everybody has 100% taxation rates and everything. I don't know. It kind of falls apart if you play it for too long. There's 70 questions, so we should probably be moving. Is it necessary for the government to intervene in the economy to protect consumers? Yes. The freer the people, the freer the markets. Well, we had that question last time, and the answer is no. Is it better to maintain a balanced budget than ensure welfare for all citizens? Go to hell. Publicly funded research is more beneficial to the people than leaving it to the market. Yeah? Like, if you leave... Okay, like, this is the thing about... Anytime people talk about privatization, you're basically, anytime you want to move something that is from the public to the private, you are saying, do you want the purpose of this thing to provide the service that it is providing as its main focus? Do you want that to be what it's about? Or do you want its main focus to be making money? Like, do you want the mail service to be focused on mail? or do you want the mail service to be focused on making money? Because that's what privatizing it will do. Which means that their incentives instantly become to make it lower quality and more expensive. I don't know. Because, like, the point of even the most ethical corporation, even, like, Tom's Shoes, the point of Tom's Shoes is to make money. That is the only goal of the corporation, and everything else is secondary. It's, like, trying to give a pair of shoes to every underprivileged child on the planet. That is a marketing technique. It is lifestyle marketing. But the point of the company is not to give underprivileged people shoes. You can do that as a charity. It is to make money. Let's continue. Publicly funded research. Oh yeah, we did this one already. And the answer is yes. International trade is beneficial. Well, to the extent, yes. I'm going to give it a minor agree. From each according to his ability, to each according to his needs. We did that in the last one. Strongly agree. It would be best if social programs were abolished in favor of private charity. No, that's basically like the privatization of social welfare. Taxes should be increased on the rich to provide for the poor. Yes, we should tax the rich to, let's go with 100% of their income. Just to keep it fair, you know? So all money they make after $1, we'll tax that 100%. I feel like that is a way to balance the scales of power in a way that actually will work. Okay. Inheritance is a legitimate form of wealth. Nope, I'm not a fan of aristocracies, no. Public utilities like roads and electricity should be publicly owned. Yes, as we talked about. The point of an electricity company should be to make electricity, not to make money. Excessive government intervention is a threat to the economy. Disagree. Those with a greater ability to pay should receive better health care. I feel like we've heard a lot of these questions. All right, so let's talk about, like, excessive government intervention as a threat to the economy. It's not, because an economy is, like, the process of making things that people need, while, you know, the government intervenes to keep everything from just turning the process into making money. So, yeah. Those with the greater ability to pay, no two-tier healthcare. That is bullshit. Quality education is a right for all people. Yes. The means of production should belong to the workers who use them. Yes. The United Nations should be abolished. Let's go with no-ish. The United Nations should definitely not be a neoliberal thing with a Security Council so that a handful of countries rule over the whole world. That we can get rid of, but the idea of global organization and stuff like that, we can definitely need that. Military action by our nation is often necessary to protect it. Disagree. I support regional unions such as the European Union. Again, this is going to be a minor agree because the whole EU is all neoliberal and cruel to other things, but it's important to have those overtures and to keep, you know, bunches of things together. Thoughts on J.J. McCullough, Canadian journalist who makes a YouTube video once in a while. Thoughts on his video, not his job. I don't know much about him. I think I watched a couple videos and I was like, eh. It's important to maintain our national sovereignty. Yeah, let's not do that. What things do you collect, like flag coins, stamps, etc.? I don't actually... I have moved far too much, and I live in far too small a place to have any real collections. If you look behind me here, this wood thing here is a curio cabinet. Inside that curio cabinet is pretty much like whenever I go on trips or random things, I collect like random things that I find that are interesting that are small enough to fit in a curio cabinet. So I have a curio cabinet filled with things. Maybe sometime we'll go through it. Not tonight though, but yeah, I guess that's the closest thing to a collection I have is just like little knickknacks. But for the most part, I don't have any like real legit collections. but I just don't have a real. I've when I moved here, like I have been moving on average about once every 1.5 years since 2010, so I haven't really been able to have a collection of anything. A united world government would be beneficial to mankind. I'm going to put a minor agree there. Is it more important to retain peaceful relations than to further our strength? Yes. Wars do not need to be justified to other countries. Okay. Who is this person? Is this, what's his name? Is this, like, von Clausewitz? Is this, like, is this friggin', what's it called? Some realpolitik person made this? Like, yeah, let's go that way. Military spending is a waste of money. That is true. International aid is a waste of money. That is definitely not true. My nation is great. Very not true. Research should be conducted on an international scale. Very true. Information should be free. Government should be accountable to the international community. I mean, if we're going to have those, then sure. See, like, a lot of these things take, like, this is why political compass tests, they always take so many political assumptions for granted. If you were to make, like, a political compass test that was even close to fitting all of the ideologies, it would not have this specific of policies. It would be about more general ideas about how humanity should be organized and how resources should be distributed. Those are, like, the two main things that that define where you are politically. They're philosophical questions. They're not specific. I think that would be better for the long term. Even when protesting an authoritarian government, violence is not acceptable. Well, I think this is the one where I'm going to get in trouble. Because if you enter violence into a lot of situations, not every situation, but a lot of situations, you're going to make the issue entirely about the violence. Like, the violence, in a lot of cases, ends up being self-defeating. Like, I understand to make it work, but it's a lot of times you end up with failed revolutions, and yeah, I do think that there's something self-defeating about violent uprisings. However, violence in self-defense and violence to help others and stop them from being massacred is totally justifiable. Like, what's it called? If you, like, violence to stop fascists from killing people is definitely justified. So I'm going to give it a soft agree. My religious values should be spread as much as possible. Let's disagree on that. Wait, do you guys think humans are ever going to stop arguing over politics? Fine, just agree to disagree and come together for the good of mankind. Oh, sweet summer child. Our nation's values should be spread as much as possible. Nope. It is very important to maintain law and order. Definitely not. The general populace makes poor decisions. I'll give that a soft disagree. People make bad decisions because of bad conditions and socialization. People aren't just like what's it called? The world is not The Walking Dead, where when the plot isn't moving forward, people start taking stupid pills and doing things that make no sense in order to make more show happen. Victimless crimes such as drug use should not be crimes at all. Yeah, agree. The sacrifice of some civil liberties is necessary to protect us from acts of terrorism. Definitely not. Government surveillance is necessary in the modern world. Nope. The very existence of the state is a threat to our liberty. Well, there we go. There's a good question. I totally agree with that. Regardless of political opinions, it's important to side with your country. Nope. The less you do that, the better, actually. No authority should be left unquestioned. Very agree. Will you join the New World Order tomorrow? I got a thing. I got to get to. Sorry. Hierarchical state is best. Nope. Literally the opposite. Is it important that... it is important that the government follows the majority opinion even when it is wrong. I'm just going to give this a neutral. I don't really care about this answer. The stronger the leadership, the better. Disagree. Democracy is more than a decision-making process. Strongly agree. Environmental regulations are essential. Yes. A better world will come from automation, science, and technology. I strongly agree with that. Children should be educated in religious and traditional values. Nope. Traditions are of no value on their own. Very agree. Religion should play a role in government. Very not agree. Churches should be taxed the same way as other institutions are taxed. I guess. Yeah. Honestly, like, whatever. Climate change is currently one of the greatest threats to our way of life. That is very true. Is it important that we work as a united world to combat climate change? Yes. Society was way better many years ago than it is now. Okay, well this is a very different question, because like, I guess like if you think about it, it's whether you're a conservative or an anarcho-primitivist or not. So I'm like, not. Do the "Who Are You" in 1917 Russia test. Oh goodness. It is important to maintain the traditions of our past. Disagree. It's important to think in the long term beyond our lifespans. Very agree. Reason is more important than maintaining our culture. Yup. Drug use should be legalized or decriminalized. Yup. Same-sex marriage should be legal. Yup. No culture is superior to others. Yup. Sex outside of marriage is immoral. Let's not go with that. You see, these questions are starting to repeat themselves. This is why I think doing 2 of them is good enough. If we accept migrants at all, is it important that they assimilate to our culture? Nope. Abortion should be prohibited in most or all cases? Nope. Gun ownership should be prohibited for those without a valid reason. I'm going to go with neutral on that one. I support single-payer universal health care. Yup. Prostitution should be illegal? Nope. Maintaining family values is essential? Definitely not. To chase progress at all costs is dangerous. That is true. I'll go with an agree on that one. Genetic modification is a force for good, even on humans. I'm going to give that a soft agree. I think that there's some excesses there that we can think of, but we should definitely not be reckless with such a technology. Yes. Sirloin of Ice, you make a good point. Cocaine is bad. Don't do cocaine. I agree with that. Should you go to prison for doing cocaine? I think that would be a bad thing. I don't think that helps anybody. We should open our borders to immigration. Yes. Government should be as concerned about foreign citizens as they are about those within their borders. Yeah. We all human. Did I agree? I don't think I agreed with same-sex marriage should be illegal, but we'll go, and I can't go back either. So if it turns out that if one of the things says that I'm a giant bigot, then ignore it. If I answer that question wrong. So government should be as concerned about foreign citizens. Yeah. All people, regardless of factors like culture or sexuality, should be treated equally. Like, yeah. It's important that we further move my group's goals above all others. Yeah, let's go to hell with that. 2. All right, so let's see where we are. Well, the first values, economic axis, communist, big surprise there, not a fan of markets. Diplomatic axis, cosmopolitan, yeah, definitely not a nationalist, definitely an internationalist. Civil axis, anarchist, all right. We're starting to see things come together now. Societal axis, revolutionary. Yeah, anti-traditionalist. And closest match, libertarian communism. Yeah, alright. This seems pretty... And cosmopolitan. Anarcho-cosmopolitanism, that's the new one. That's the new one we're making up. How long do you think will it take for America to blow up the moon? Trust me. Yeah, V's right. Tomorrow. That's what Space Force is all about, I think. Tristan's now part of the Globalist gang. Alright. Alright. I think we've had fun with the political compasses. Yeah, I know NASA's too weak to blow up the moon tomorrow. That's why we're making Space Force. That's what I hear anyway. Anyways, let's move out of let's stop with all that political compassing and just talk to each other as like people. So we have 20 minutes ish. I don't mind ending a little bit early. My voice is a little bit raw, but if anybody has any final questions, I will be happy to answer. I've got a couple here, and then we'll go from there. Jenga Tree 121. This is hypothetical for now. What do you think of LeftyTube making a Google YouTube union? Nice in theory, but getting the critical mass of people on board would be difficult, especially because so many YouTubers make stuff for free. Yeah. Okay. Oh, Golden Pelt, the American flag is on the moon, so we won't blow it up until we stick poor people there. Well, you don't understand, Golden Pelt, is that because of UV radiation, the American flag on the moon is actually now bleached white, so it's okay to bomb it now. All right. We're getting some questions now. All right, Jacob Rodriguez, what do you think about the mutilation of newborn genitals? Whoops, I meant circumcision. Fun fact: 80% of the United States have foreskin to Christian ass. Oh, jeez. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I'm not a fan of circumcision. I don't think it's a great thing. I'm not as worked up about it as some people are, but it's definitely not a thing that I'm like super gung ho about. I don't particularly care. It's definitely not a thing. It's definitely in no way compared to like FGM or anything like that. There's no comparison really, but I do think that it's not proper to do because children can't consent. Babies especially can't consent to that. So why would you force a child to do something to their body? It'd be like forcing a baby to get a piercing, but like a gauge, like one of those like permanent big things. Like kids can't consent to that. That's not ethical. Which boot excites you the most? What? I don't even understand. What do you think will happen if Trump somehow wins in 2020? Oh, geez. So, that would be very dependent on the conditions of Trump winning in 2020. I think that if the Democrats, it's very much on the Democrats. Like, the only reason why Trump won in 2016 is because the Democrats put up the most piss-poor election in human history. It was a disaster in, like, every possible way. So the Democrats would need to not do that, which, don't worry, they already seem very on board for failing again, because they already are, like... And it would depend on the primaries. I think the primaries mean quite a bit. If, like, Kamala Harris or, like, Cory Booker win, you can almost, not guarantee, but it's a pretty good chance that Trump will win. Because the Democrats need to actually stand for literally anything to motivate their base. Now, you might be able to... I actually think that maybe they'd be able to motivate their base through just saying, I'm not Trump, vote for me, because things will probably be that crappy by then that they could probably pull through, but I'm not sure. If, like, you know, if we get another Pokemon Go to the polls type of election versus, like, the literal encroachment of fascism, like, I don't know. Trump getting reelected just seems really unlikely at this point. His support has eroded so much. But if there is any party that I think could pull defeat from the jaws of victory, it's the Democrats. So I am open to being surprised. Have you tried Super Male Vitality? Why do you keep making me try Super Male Vitality? I think you asked that question like a couple hours ago. Either that or I'm going insane. which is probably true as well. And then D-Quack asked me about J.J. McCullough. I don't really know too much about him. That's the answer I gave last time. It's like, what's your favorite? What are your favorite books? I don't know if this comes through in a few of my videos. It comes through in my next video a little bit, but I love Dune, like the Frank Herbert book. That's probably one of my favorites. Whenever I think about my favorite books, Dune is like the first one that pops up. I was a pretty big fan of the book Timeline by Michael Crichton, which was like a time travel thing. I thought that was a pretty neat book. Hasn't aged well in my head, though. I think I liked it more when I was younger, when I was a teenager, than now. Probably because my opinion of Michael Crichton has deteriorated quite a bit. Have you tried the water purifiers to get rid of the fluoride? Oh, God. I don't know how Alex Jones does it. Ruins your voice. He talks for like 4 hours on his show. Jeez. Anyways. Yeah. I need to read more fiction. That is a thing. I actually bought an absolutely incredible thing, the new Hank Green book, so I'll probably be flipping that open once the stream is done. At least a few pages. Son of Osiris, do you watch Big Joel? No. D-Quack, do you think there will be a second American Civil War in the next 5 to 50 years? I really highly doubt that. Like, the process of descending into an actual civil war would need much more geographic diversity, or geographic, like, clumping of different factions in a country, and would also need to divide the military. And at the moment, I don't see those kinds of things. Like, right now, the divisions in America are very much in families and, like, cross-generational and not so much geographic. Plus, one side is going to control the whole military. Like, I don't know, an American Civil War I don't see very likely. Where did the chemtrail conspiracy come from? It came from people not being able to understand condensation properly. And so they saw a conspiracy in it. Anyways, favorite history author? Favorite philosophical text? My favorite history author, I mean, I really liked Howard Zinn. I really liked Vijay Prashad. I think those two are ones that come out as being particular favorites of mine. I'd probably say I like Vijay Prashad a little bit more than Howard Zinn. As for philosophical text, I don't know. I'm bad at philosophy. I don't think I've read a philosophy book. Is it cheating to just say Karl Marx? That works for me. And hey, look, there's a cat again. Okay. Coolisters. There's somebody in the Twitch. Hi, Coolisters. You are not the... I am simultaneously streaming on Twitch and on YouTube. That's probably why. Anyways, I think that's going to call it a night. Thank you guys so much for coming out to the stream. If you guys are new, subscribe at the, step back, subscribe, like, thumb up. There'll be another one of these next week. Yeah, I realized that actually because it's going to be on Tuesday night that every time there's an American election, we'll do like an election night thing. That'll be fun. Yeah, that'll be great. And the police are coming for me, so I definitely have to shut down. I hope you guys had a great time. And submit ideas, like, share, subscribe. If you want to help out, there's Patreon, patreon.com/stepbackhistory, all that kind of stuff. Anyways, you guys have been great. I'll see you next week.